Welcome back, my brave and beautiful humans, to another episode of Soul Hygiene. Before we get started with my lovely friend, Miss Stacy, who is my personal nutritionist, that's what I like to say. Um, I want to tell you guys about some exciting stuff that's going on. And I have recently launched Soul Hygiene School. That's SKOOL. I'll leave the link in the YouTube bio and in the regular bio, but I'm very excited. The reason I wanted to do it is because I've seen people spend thousands of dollars on life coaches or life coaches. There are good ones, I feel like, but I feel like the community of life coaching is very daunting and kind of outdated a little bit. So I wanted a space where there's a community of people that can help each other, that can learn from each other, that can put soul hygiene into practice. And for only $7 a month, I mean, you get all of this information, you get free downloads every month. Plus, I've been working on so many digital downloads, courses that you can go in and purchase behind the scenes. So I'm so excited that this has launched. I just got my fifth member last night. So
Ooh,
my goal is 500 members by Christmas. That would be a wonderful Christmas gift because it's just me wanting to put soul hygiene out there into the world. And I think this is a wonderful avenue to be able to do that. So
oh,
I will be making some other videos in regards to this because I have been working on, and I'll leave you with this. I have been working on the soul hygiene method, which has been in the works for a couple of years. It's my own meditation technique and soul scrubbing technique that I've kind of put into the soul hygiene method. So I'm going to be launching that. We're in the edit phases of that. And then I don't know, I've just been impressed lately to launch into Soul Hygiene Global Media group and soul sanctuaries. So we'll see where that goes. Those are just kind of things that are, in the right now phase of putting those into practice into like a business proposal. So those are a little bit further on down the line, but the Soul Hygiene School is really, really going to make those things happen. So I'm inviting every single one of you to follow the link and join. Thank you so much. And welcome, Miss Stacy. I'm so excited to have her on the show. How are
well,
you doing?
congratulations. That's exciting stuff coming up, isn't it? I know you work your
Yes.
tail off.
It's, I really do work hard and I attribute that to my parents teaching me work ethic, right? But
Yeah.
I know it's also a trauma response that I have had
Oh, really?
in my life. It's I've only recently learned that probably in the last year and a half where someone said, "Do you ever slow down?" And I started
Oh,
praying
yeah.
about it. I started meditating on it. And I have worked a full-time job since I was 14 years old.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's just been that way. And now I have responsibilities, a caregiver of both my parents. And,
Mhm.
it's just it is what it is. And I
Yep. Yep.
kind of that trauma response into God's turned it into my purpose. So here we go,
Yeah.
and we're ready to rock and roll.
I
So
agree. I agree. Yeah, I've said the same thing. I don't know. I can't understand people that don't work a job. I'm like,
yeah,
I just can't. I don't know. Yeah.
you work very
So,
hard too. You're
mm,
constantly busy, especially with your grandbaby. Saw pictures today of you guys on the beach. So
yeah, yeah, it's my
yeah,
heart, man. I feel very blessed to be able to do what I do and have my own schedule now and have my own
yeah,
business. And like, if I want to take 3 hours to go to the beach on Friday with her, I would have never been able to do that in my career when I was, in the trades. Actually, you know what I mean? Like, it actually like kind of ran my life. It was great money. You know what I mean? It was, disposable income per se. And, but there was a lot less freedom of it and
yeah.
a lot less. I mean, I like the challenge of like achieving things, but it just this is where I'm meant to be. So
Exactly. And you know what? The awesome thing is that when God gives you a purpose and he shows it to you and you're able to achieve it, it's like, wow. Like
yeah,
you wish you had been doing this all your life, but I
I
always
don't,
say God brings blessings out of turmoil. He brings blessings out of trauma, and
yeah.
he can change anyone's life. So
I don't know if I think it all happened when I was supposed to. I don't know if I would have been able to accept it then. This
exactly,
is, it's
yeah,
just I'm just a different person than I used to be, and I love it.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Totally agree. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to. I don't know why my eyes are watering. I'm not crying. I promise. Stacey, you just made me so emotional.
Allergies maybe or something going on.
Allergies or something, but
Yeah.
so we're going to do a little bit different of an episode. Last night, Stacy had, I would say it was kind of a masterclass almost on
Mm,
nutrition.
thank you.
Um, and she's exceptional at what she has learned, the certifications that she has, and one is especially in women's hormonal health. So that's kind of the basis we're going to be talking about tonight. When you hit your 40s, it's kind of like, okay, now we need to really
What's going on?
start talking
Yeah.
about this because our bodies are
Yes.
not doing what they should have done, what they
Yeah.
should do in our 20s and 30s. So,
Something's
um,
not working right
yeah,
anymore. Yeah.
and I know everyone's going to be like, how does this have to do with soul hygiene? Well, I think we've touched on this before in previous episodes. When our health is intact, when our nutrition is good, when we're, feeling good, getting sleep, we can think more about what is our purpose? What does God have for us? We see blessings more. I know for me, when I'm not feeling good, or, when I was going through a time of trauma, or turmoil or whatever it was, I was not watching my health. I had so much anxiety. And I love that now, and I'm very open about what I've been through, but I had a hysterectomy, threw me straight into menopause. But that was, those first couple of months were horrendous. Like
Yeah.
I I could not figure out who I was, what was going on. It's like you feel like a
Yeah.
person gained, I mean, I think I gained like 40 pounds in less than 2 months, and I didn't even change anything. So, that's what we're going to talk about. That has a lot to do with soul hygiene. And what I stress on this podcast all the time is soul hygiene has to do with every aspect of our lives, whether it's weight
Absolutely.
loss and nutrition, or it's business or relationships, or it's just you figuring out who you are, right?
Yeah.
Who you are, your core values, every decision you make comes from within. And
Mhm.
if your within is ugly, or it's not, centered, or you don't know who you are, or your core values are not intact, you're going to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with nutrition, our weight, because when we overeat, when we're gluttonous, when we snack, you know, we become that victim in our head. And so we're trying to get out of that. We're trying to become victorious over this. And so Stacy has a lot of knowledge, and she's going to help us today kind of, navigate this hormonal thing that a lot of women over 40 years
I
old.
will definitely try. I will definitely try.
So,
There's a lot. I mean, there's 41 physiological and psychological changes that women go through in perimenopause, and it's just starting to become a topic. It's just like women's health and women's exercise and nutrition. Like we're on a 28-day cycle, before we hit menopause. Men are on a 24-hour cycle with testosterone. It's completely different. Our nutrition needs are different. Obviously we already know that men have more muscle mass and bone density than women just in general. For the majority, right? It's just like statistically, and the fact that their hormones are completely different. And most studies prior to like the last, beyond the last 5 years,
mm,
everything was done on men. And it was
right,
just like, women were just told like this is just a normal part of life. Well, no, now we're paying attention to it. Now they're talking about it. And
right.
and I think it's wonderful because I've experienced it myself too. Like you were saying, between age 46 and 50, I was like, I thought I had all the lifestyle things figured out, all the exercise, nutrition, like I get proper sleep. I'm very much in a routine with like, the nature with the sunrise, sunset kind of thing. And I'm going, what is going on with me? I'm
Right.
47 now and my like something's going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, I'm getting hormone certified. That's it. I want to know what's going on with me. And then I was like, then I felt guided to just coach women, because I was coaching men and women, and I'm like, women have no idea. Nobody's
Hmm.
telling us, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so like that's kind of what led me to, just go from coaching both men and women and then being an online coach. Like I just felt like I'm a teacher by heart. Like even when I was in the trades, I loved having apprentices. I loved passing the torch and giving the power back. And I've
Yeah.
had some really monumental leaders in my life. And so that's how they led. Leaders lead,
I
so
love that. I love
yeah.
that. Well, and you can see probably in the decisions that you made how God just like opened doors for you, like
Yeah.
put you in the position you are now. So I love that for you. And
Yeah.
Stacy and I used to go to school if together in high school actually,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we never really, we didn't run in the same circles, that's for sure. But it's
No.
funny how we come back, you know, we're hitting our 50s and we're like, oh, hey, I know in completely different stages of life so
Yeah.
that we can be um, helpful to other people,
Yeah.
and help
Yeah.
change other people's lives. So I absolutely love that. So how different this is going to be? We're going to go through 10 questions, true or false, fact or fiction. Stacey's going to answer that, maybe give a caveat here or there if she, feels the need
Oop.
to. But
Yep.
and then we have some assorted questions that I kind of gathered from women who are over 50. Some of them are hitting their 60s and they're like, yeah, hey, ask her this or ask her that. A few of them we're not going to talk about because they're controversial and it'll take a whole show. So
Yeah. Yeah. It might take a whole show for some of
yeah,
them.
we might
Yep.
save one or two questions for a different time. So we're going to start with, and I did write all these down, so I will be reading them.
Okay.
Last night after your master class, I kind of was in the car and I'm talking into my phone like, "Ooh, these are good. These are good," because I know you're going to know these, but I would love to hear,
Yeah.
them. So,
Firsthand again. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So these are fact or fiction, true or false, and this comes
Okay.
obviously a certified nutrition. So, first one is soy always disrupts women's hormones.
No, it's a dosing thing for sure. And I
Yeah,
think I think the consumption of soy to disrupt hormones is beyond somebody's normal consumption. I mean, like, and I
yeah,
don't know the exact like quantity, but I think it would have to be astronomical to do any damage. Yes. So
yeah.
false.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was
Hmm.
told I was doing a weight loss program probably 10 years ago, taking soy shakes every day. And then I had a nutritionist tell me, oh, quit drinking those. And I'm like, why? And that was
Yeah.
things they had told me. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Eating carbs at night causes weight gain.
False. It's
Dairy,
it's a it's an overall calorie consumption.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, dairy is inflammatory for all women.
False.
Seed oils destroy hormone balance.
Again, I want to say yeah, but I want to say again, it's probably a dosing thing, and again, probably the amount that you would consume. Should we avoid them if necessary? Yeah, but we got to have an 80-20, or 90-10 lifestyle. And they're in a lot of things right now. And, until they start making changes, nationally, I think that's just, it is going to be what it is. So,
There is one place I went to. We went shopping one day, my friend Tiff and I, and we go. I want to say it was something shake. It's down in Iowa City. We don't
steak
have,
and shake or something?
yes, yes, that's what it was. They fry their fries in,
Tallow.
yes, in beef
So
tallow.
does so does Buffalo Wild Wings
That
now.
is amazing. That's awesome.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
love that they're starting to change that. I know it's a little bit more expensive and they'll probably raise their prices here or there, but
Yes. Yeah.
I would rather have like it fried in beef tallow than seed oil,
Yes.
or, the man-made oil that they use.
And I have to say, like, when we to touch back on the seed oil things, I think it's more of a gut health thing.
Oh,
You know what I
definitely.
mean? And of course, like obviously our gut is our is our brain for our hormones, our central uh
Hmm.
hormone factory, I guess I'll call it. So,
Yeah.
if your diet is, you know, pretty saturated with seed oils, I would say that they could disrupt hormones. But, on a general basis, the consumption of it would have to be,
Yeah.
a quantity thing.
I think you're right. I think it mostly is a gut thing. Like they're
Yeah.
not good for your gut. I mean, they really
No,
aren't.
I
Um,
like to just imagine them like oil and water. Like they're not going to mix. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to do anything good for your cell coating, for your gut lining, for anything really. I mean, it's going to cause you inflammation, again, and be somewhat of a hormone disruptor. But are they for everybody? Probably not. Some people have cast iron stomachs, you know what I mean?
right,
They
right.
just do. Like I
Yeah,
had a girlfriend that could eat about anything and be just fine. And I'm like, wow.
yeah.
Um,
There are some people like that. I know. I am not one of them. So
no, neither am I. And you touched on dairy for a minute. Like dairy's inflammatory for me. Like it's not like
me
I
too.
know I know for a lot of ladies, I will say like like over 50% of the population. I don't know the exact number, but I would say it
Right.
definitely is. And for everybody, I would say no. If you're raised on a farm and you were exposed to that right away as a child, I think you have those immunities to things. So on a general, it's not for everybody, but some
Yeah.
people are fine with it.
And there are some nutritionists who use those words all and, you know, everybody. And that's not true.
No, it's
Everyone
yeah.
is, um,
Hmm.
you need to cut out all sugar to fix hormone issues.
No.
I'm so glad.
No, thank God, because I would be all over. I would be a mess.
Me
I
too.
like,
Me
I do
too.
like my sweets. Yeah.
Yeah. Life would be very boring.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't avoid the things that you love. You just
No,
can't,
not all the time. No.
No,
Um, Women should avoid heavy lifting because it raises testosterone.
false.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I love that. I can't lift a whole lot, but
You're getting
I
stronger.
am certainly trying. So,
Yeah. Yep.
and I know that I feel better and, it's just a process, but my voice is not getting deeper. I promise. And
No, no.
I'm
I mean,
not
like I
growing
have a
facial hair. So,
no, and you know what I mean? I have great testosterone production for a woman, and I know it's because I do lift heavy and I do have a lot of muscle mass and I have dense bones for an old lady. Like I might be more of a petite thing right now, I do put on I just got off a cut for the competition, but normally I'm heavier than I am, but right now I am being very due diligent to reverse diet because it could harm my hormones, my thyroid, but no, no, that's a false one for sure. Women should lift heavy because we need that. And the
yeah.
older you get, you should lift heavy too.
Yeah.
We don't outgrow that.
Yeah. My mom just got done breaking her hip, and I'm like, I am not going to break my hip
Mm-mm.
when I get,
No.
I mean, and that's why I'm trying to change the lifestyle now. So that when I get older, I don't sneeze and break my back. I think that was something you had said last night about
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. There
older
was a
people
lady.
can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lady in the group hire me to be her coach. She's like, I've been following you for a year, and I was on the way to Colorado with my mom, and was just gonna be 80, and she sneezed and she broke her back in the car, and I was like, oh my God. And she goes, it derailed our whole trip to Colorado. Were in the ER constantly, had to come home. And it's because her mom had no idea about like nutrition and, training.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that's a crazy story, but it's true. It's a true
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Every woman should take collagen and magnesium.
Yes. Yes. Every woman, especially over the age of 35. Closer to 40, magnesium becomes important. There's a lot of I can't remember, there's 8 different kinds of magnesium.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Um, yeah, there's quite a few of them, and they all do different things, but definitely a women should have a magnesium supplement. It's going to help you with sleep. It's going to help you with bowel movements, digestion, that kind of thing. And yeah, I think collagen is important for, skin elasticity, tissue health, all the things. So yeah, I think women, obviously you want to try to get as much of it in your diet, but supplementation is important if you can't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, Sleep has a bigger impact on hormones than diet.
Oh boy, and that's a vicious cycle.
Hmm.
Um, you know what? I want to say sleep is really I go back like is it the chicken or the egg? I do. Because if you're not sleeping, your hunger hormones are disrupted, your satiety hormones are disrupted. You're going to be eating all day, and then if you're eating late at night, then it impacts like your insulin. kind of taking a rest, your melatonin doing its natural thing, and then we're not sleeping. So it is a vicious circle. And I
Yeah.
would say, like, the foundation, like even before a woman would come and start training with me, I would say, let's just take a general look at nutrition, but let's make sure we're focused on sleep. And let's not let's not have a meal, well, an hour or two before bed. And then let's focus on getting you some good, like 6 to 7 hours of sleep, and start there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I think that when I started my fasting regimen, which is, we talked about 6 to 6, 6 at night to 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
I cannot eat right before bed. I get really bad acid reflux. So I just determined myself, I'm not going to eat at least, 4 hours before I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But having that fasting time and just, if I need something, I'll just drink water. It helps me wake up rejuvenated and kind of, I used to be an insomniac
Yeah.
years. I would only sleep 2 hours, wake up 2 hours, wake up two. And now I can at least sleep 6.5 hours because I wake up at 3 a.m. every morning. Doesn't matter if
Just natural, your
it's just
natural.
my
Yeah. Yep.
natural, yeah, it's my natural
Mhm.
body, but I am able to go back to sleep at least for a couple hours. But I completely agree. It can be a vicious cycle because
Mhm.
I did experience that in my, early 40s.
Yep.
Where that was like, oh my goodness gracious, like, oh, I got to get a handle on this.
I think your
So,
fasting window is I don't know if we're going to talk about fasting, but your fasting window is ideal. You know what I mean? I like your fasting window of 6 to 6. We could talk about it more now, or we could talk about it later, but I think it's a good time slot to be fasting.
yeah, and it just works for me.
Hmm.
But I have like other women who have said, so what are you doing? I'm like, well, this is what I do. They're like, oh, I never thought about it. I'm like, well, you're sleeping 8 hours. I mean, like, that's part of your fasting. Like, why not take advantage of that time where you're sleeping and not thinking about food? So,
Yeah, yeah, yep.
yeah, for sure. I think one of our questions has to do with fasting. So we
Okay.
can jump to that if we want. So, um, we did the, fact or fiction, I think just to kind of get a basis of what we're going to talk about, but this is stuff like everyday people think about. And a lot of the questions that I have, like I said, are from women like between 40 and 60 are like, I don't know none of this. And it's
Yeah.
not talked about a whole lot. So
No, no, not enough.
since
Hmm.
we're on the fasting subject, one of the questions, so we're gonna go through the questions. Stacey's gonna answer, give some caveats. We may not get through them all, but Stacey's
Yeah.
always good about coming back on the podcast. So maybe we'll have a part two of women's hormones.
Yeah.
Talk some
Yeah.
more. So um one of the questions was, do you think intermittent fasting is beneficial or harmful for women's hormones?
Well, that's cool. It's coming, right from that question that we just talked about with
Yeah.
you. Your 6 to 6 eating window. I think intermittent fasting is great. Is it going to help you lose weight? Again, at the end of the day, it's a calories in, calories out in that 24-hour period. If we're talking about fasting beyond 24 hours, obviously there's lots of great benefits into like cell regeneration, mitochondrial health, gut lining health, stem cell production, from like 24 to like 78 hours and beyond, right? So there's those benefits. But when we're talking about intermittent fasting in 24 hours and below, um, it's great, but it's always a calorie window. And
Mhm.
then the advice I would give on a woman that wants to do intermittent fasting is, we know because of women's hormone health, it is not healthy for us to go about our day on an empty stomach. We need
Right.
a little gas in the tank for
Yeah.
that. Women that skip breakfast, it's going to elevate cortisol. It's going to, like I said, anything that elevates kind of
Mhm.
stress hormones, increase hunger hormones, that kind of thing. And I always like to think of blood sugar kind of like a roller coaster, you know what I mean? Or like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, if your blood sugar is going to go up, or down, you want to just kind of like regulate it, like just neutral. So again, you don't want to skip breakfast, you know what I mean? And kind of be going downhill, because then you're just going to be craving food. And that's where people kind of like binge at night, because they're low in energy. They've got nothing in the gas tank. They're grabbing everything in sight, and so they're probably not eating, their balanced nutrients, and that's where you get to see kind of like, overeating, at nighttime, and like just your body's like basically starving from the day of being unfed. And so eating right away in the morning or within an hour of waking, maybe not dumping, caffeine or coffee on an empty stomach, that will help, um, you know, alleviate like, acid reflux, those kinds of things. You don't want caffeine on an empty stomach either. That's a stressor on the body. So I think the 6 to 6 window, like the circadian rhythm, if you're going to talk about getting up with the sun, going to bed with the sun,
Mhm.
that's ideal. That's actually an ideal eating window for intermittent fasting. And I think that's kind of where you need to be. If you're going to intermittent fast, you want to do it and then have a meal and not do it to where you're skipping breakfast and not eating it till later. Because if
Yeah.
you women want to get their protein in every day. And if you have a really small window and you're intermittent fasting and your window's like later and then you're going to bed
Yeah.
with food in your stomach, it's just I think the eating window is important if you're going to intermittent fast as a woman.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think that we talked about that early on in like when we got together.
Yep.
Uh, so that's really helped me understand like, what I need to do during the day. So I really do like that. We may skip around a little bit because I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to get to all of these, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay.
I do want to get to some that a few women really were, quite interested in.
Yeah.
And I think that so I'm trying to find the one that we're not going to talk about that one.
Mm.
um, oh, do you believe women's hormonal health is more influenced by nutrition or lifestyle stressors, and why?
Hmm. Okay. Boy, that one is a double-edged sword too, because stress management's huge.
Hmm.
Not sleeping is huge. And again, those nutrition plays a role into that.
Right.
But I think, if you're really off on your nutrition, it is obviously studies show it impacts our mental health. If our gut is our brain center for our hormones, it's going to disrupt your hormone production. It's going to disrupt your sleep. So I would lead to say that nutrition would be first and foremost. And then, kind of trying to create some healthy like eating habits as far as like window timing, what nutrients you're having when, like what kind of like balance are we doing with our meals? And being mindful in the nutrition first. And then I think when I eat, and you and I have even had discussions about this, when I eat healthier, like there's times that I like, you have something happen in your life, you have a loss or a big change and you're stress eating. And I
Mhm.
know like even around like the holidays when I stress eat, like it impacts my mental health
Yeah.
and that impacts my sleep and then impacts my stress because then you're harder on yourself and then you're just kind of all over the place. So when you're eating healthy, you feel better. And then everything else kind of comes into balance with that. So I would say, in my personal opinion, I would say like trying to get nutrition on board first. Because when you're supporting yourself, what a lot of people don't realize is nutrition is a huge form of self-love. You know what I mean? Like I used to look at like meal prepping as such a pain in the rear. And it wasn't until I like actually was like, I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because I'm unhappy with it looking in the mirror and being unhappy. I'm unhappy with like how I feel. Like I actually it was kind of like it was a full like circle moment today when I was with my granddaughter at the beach. And again, a lot of things come in menopause where you're like, I don't care about anybody, what anybody thinks of me anymore. You know what I mean? But so there's a lot of
Yeah.
that. But like, I didn't wear a swimsuit with my daughter. I was too ashamed. I was too overweight. And when my daughter, it wasn't until my daughter was like 10, 11, 12 that I finally maybe started wearing a swimsuit and going to the beach with her. But I would be the mom in the cover up. I would avoid going to the beach, because I didn't like myself. I
Yeah.
didn't, and I sure as hell didn't support myself in nutrition. And once you start doing that and you start feeling good and you start like like if you've seen like movement on the scale and you're starting to feel healthier and you're sleeping better and you're like, hey, my energy's better, I'm feeling better. I think that's important. Nutrition is a really big driver and women don't understand it.
So we don't have a lot of time left, but I think we're going to stop here because there's something I really want to address, especially with this. And it just kind of came to my mind, but
Hmm.
um the whole and it kind of plays into this, but the whole body positivity movement. Okay. I have a really hard time with it because, I was never really taught through my years, which is why I went through 25 years of just, everything I did. Um,
Hmm.
was never taught like how to love myself, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think there's a point where it can go over
Yeah.
where, you know, you can love yourself, but you're also exhibiting bad habits that you're telling people are okay. And
Okay.
I think when I started with you and really understanding how nutrition plays into um, lifestyle and, stressors of life, as this question kind of dictated,
Yeah.
um, you know, MS is my stressor. My
Yeah.
heart condition is my stressor.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not saying necessarily being a caregiver is a stressor, but it's an added responsibility, right? That
I
can
could
become
uh,
stressful.
of course, it's another
Yeah,
thing on the list of
yeah,
stuff to do in the day.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if I did not have my head on straight and be, you know, the person I am and have the soul hygiene and have the nutrition, I would be all over the place. I would
Yeah.
not be in the place I am now. Um, I would still be where I was 5, 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I say all that to say we need to be careful. Some of the influencers, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
are influencing the wrong direction. I am fully honest an overweight person.
Hmm.
I literally have been overweight my whole life. Since I was a baby, I was the Michelin baby. I had rolls upon rolls upon rolls, right? I have never experienced being a smaller person. Um, and I never really had that. I can look in the mirror and be okay with who I am. I can now. I'm good,
Hmm.
right? Because I have the light
Yeah.
of God in me and I am created fearfully and wonderfully made.
Hmm.
But there comes a point where you have to be honest with yourself and be like, is this healthy? Am I going to live a long time continuing this pattern? And
I'm glad that you
I,
brought this up. I'm glad that
yeah,
you brought this up because like I have goosebumps right now. You're not alone. You're not alone in that thought. There are many, many, many women out there, and weight isn't even an issue with all of them. Um, Food addiction is real.
mhm,
Like they don't talk about it. Food addiction is real. Not knowing how to cope, not being taught stress habits, not being taught self-love. All of those things are real. And I like to tell clients I have more time under the belt than you. You know what I mean? Because I could slip and slide down the slippery slope. I did. I used food to cope when I got sober, you know. And I had a talk with a client this week, and I was like, "Listen, I know you might fire me for this." And I coach virtual, and so I've like, I'll rein people in and be like, "We're hopping on a Zoom call this week. I want to see you face to face." And this was like, she was like too busy. And I was like, listen, I might lose you as a client, but I need to say this. Like, I've been asking you to like, like let's rein your nutrition in a little bit more. Let's rein it in. And I was like, I'm worried that you're gonna like have a heart attack or something. I'm
mhm.
like, you got to get your nutrition on track. Like you're not making all your workouts. You're actually like, she made really good progress, 20 pounds down, relapse, and um I'm like, your health is scaring me. And you need to have a wake up moment before it's too late. And she's got a young daughter and daughters, plural. And and I'm like, I know I wasn't the best example for my daughter, but I know better and we can do better. And I'm like, you just, I want you to live a good life. I want you to be around for them. And
And I think that's why I kind of went this direction with that one question, is because when I look at some of these influencers, and I say it in air quotes, people who are listening to audio, they're air quotes, because I don't feel like they're influencing the correct direction. On the outward, they can be all smiley. They can be like, I'm not going to name a person because I don't need, the backlash. But, there's one who she's been on magazines. She's, you know, a very large woman and has influenced and basically the body positivity movement.
yeah.
It's great to love yourself. It's great to be able to look in the mirror and say, I'm okay with who I am. But
Hmm.
I feel like that's an outward thing. Like, who are you on the inside? And that's kind of where SoulHygiene is coming into play, right? Because I feel like if your SoulHygiene, if what's on the inside is beautiful, then you're going to work on what's on the outside. You're just not going to
Yes.
be lackadaisical about it. And I did not understand that for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And, I started really understanding this the year that I almost died of COVID. And then I had issue after issue after issue and just could not, rein it all in. But now it's like God has really given me clarity to be like, that isn't what you're made for.
Yeah. Good.
And
Yeah.
it's not that you have to be skinny to be beautiful. That is the world's definition, right?
I don't
But
think skinny is strong. Yeah.
no, and skinny people can be just as unhealthy. That's the thing.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
healthy, you know. When you
Has
look at you,
doesn't have a weight.
yeah, no, and
Yeah.
it doesn't. And that, and the body positivity movement uses that. Well, I'm healthy I'm, okay, but
Well,
you can't
there.
walk without running out of air. You know what I
Yeah, I will say obesity, when we're talking about obesity, like obviously I'm above BMI. You know what I mean? Like that's an outdated measurement.
Yeah, yeah.
BMI is obviously outdated. But when we're actually talking about like obesity as like an epidemic, I think the body positivity, and I'm really glad that you brought that up because I'm sure it's like, something that's near and dear to your heart. And there are influencers out there that are like, what I eat in a day for a fatty,
Mm-hmm.
being a fatty, and they're like dipping their donut in their chocolate milk and they're,
Yeah,
like that's how they're starting their day and they're making it seem like a positive thing.
right,
Again, are you actually happy when the camera shuts off? Because
right.
I have had women that or were have obese. They've lost 100 pounds, and they used to. And the one woman told me, she's like, I used to be the funniest girl in the room. I used to like the attention, and I used to laugh, and I used to be the comedian. And she goes, and then I would go home and I would binge eat, and I was so unhappy with myself. But I outwardly put that I was the most outgoing, funniest girl in the room, and everybody thought like, oh, I love her. She goes, but I was so unhappy with myself and my skin.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's down over 100 pounds, and she's just like that was all fake. She
Yeah,
says it. She goes, that was a fake persona, and I was miserable. And
yeah.
I'm like, and I don't. I mean, like I was a size 15, 16. I know what that was like. I didn't like it, you know?
And I can kind of relate to her because I used to make fun of myself because I thought if I make fun of me first,
Yeah.
then whatever anyone else says is not going to hurt me
Yeah.
because I've already been there. I'm already making fun of myself, and sometimes I see those memes or things that I've said, on your memories on Facebook, like years ago, where I was just like making fun of being fat and, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes they can be cute, but being self-deprecating is just not the way to go when you're,
It's not.
that's
It's
not who
not the
you
way to
are. You're
go. No.
putting on a false facade. So
Hmm.
I think for me, you can be body positive without, oh, how should I put it? Um, without influencing people the wrong direction. If you're going to be about in the body positivity movement, encourage them to deal with who they are on the inside first.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I guarantee if you're centered and you know who you are and you're okay on the inside, you're not going to be eating to be the fattest woman in the world.
No. No, your habits, they will impact and dictate your mental health.
Yeah.
Your habits will 100% do, whether you're putting on the best face for camera
Yeah.
or social media or whatever it is. And I say that from experience. I say that from lots of experience. I say that from hearing it from every woman. And women think that they're so unique in the fact that like they struggle with like eating. Women think that like when, like I have a consult, obviously everybody is confidential. There is not one woman that doesn't have some form of disordered eating or eating disorder. Um, every single one of us does. Even the fittest,
Hmm.
leanest
Yeah.
woman, has issues with food and the fact that we've been like, not been told things, been misled, over exercise, be skinny, skinny is beautiful, yada yada yada, and society tells us who we're supposed to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the same thing as like this influencer that you're saying, like, like, is it, I thought maybe you were going to lean to like the influencers that are really, really fit all the time and saying like, this is the healthiest lifestyle
Well, I
because
mean, you
I
can
have,
go that direction too. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I have even said like, I'm 15 pounds heavier than I was 3 months ago because I competed and, my abs are going away and like, I'm getting, I'm starting to get a little fat put on me again. This is healthy. Women are not meant to have a six pack all the time. You're not meant to be lean all the time. You're not meant to constantly chase like just a really really super lean physique if you want to feel your healthiest. Like that's going to take a hit on your hormones. We need to have healthy fat.
yeah.
You need to have a little bit of cellulite. Like it's okay. Like you shouldn't
Yeah.
be rocking around the clock without any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it's misleading when you see influencers and, I know this is super controversial and we're probably out of time, but, there's the GLP now, and do I think they're amazing medications? Absolutely. I think there's their place for them. I think people with obesity and diabetes, I think they're amazing. But I think there's a new trend now where it's like vanity
Yeah.
over health, and it scares me,
Yeah.
and I've even been public about it. Like it is, first of all, foremost, it's not my place as a coach to ever say that somebody should consider one of those. Will I support you in your journey if that's what your provider and you decide that that's what your is best for you? Yes. I have seen women 126 pounds getting prescribed these by boutiques, and then they stop getting their period. And I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah.
not healthy. Like you're way underfed. Like
Yeah.
this is when I'm like, okay, now this is a concern for me. And like this is not and I want to say like you have to go by what God. Like, can they go to bed at night thinking that they're doing a good service?
Right.
Because I mean, like I go to bed at night going like I want to show up in my life like God. I want him to use me as a vessel to help and heal others.
Right.
And we then there's a time we have to have a talk. We have to have a talk about that. But like I think there's the flip side. There's the fat is beautiful, or like, like this is what a fat person eats in a day. I don't even like that word. I don't even like saying that word because I used to say it to myself so often. It just has this like, oh, it just has this
Ugly
like,
connotation. Yeah. When
yes,
you're
it has this,
overweight, it's just not a word that you like to hear. I
yeah.
mean, I don't, I'm not saying that bigger people aren't beautiful. I don't think I'm an ugly person. and I'm overweight.
Right.
There's
Yes.
a difference in making your weight your whole personality.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's not good. That's really not
No.
good. And the GLP-1, I feel, like I said, there are wonderful, I think it's a great medicine as well for people who are
Yeah.
overweight. It is the new Botox, I feel like, this
Mm-hmm.
this whole trend. And
Yeah.
that's another conversation for another day, I am sure. But
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about a whole caveat of things
Yeah.
today, and I think it was very enjoyable for me. I always learn a lot
Yeah.
when you're on the show, but it's also just good to know that I do know a few things and that, I'm listening to you and retaining
Yeah.
information because it helps me on my health journey. So
Good.
it's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
awesome to have you on the show. But
Yeah.
we will
Thanks for having me.
definitely have to do this again because we didn't even get through half the
I know. I know. That's okay. We'll do it again. Absolutely. We're
Yeah, for
chit-chatting.
sure.
So catching up.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really appreciate Miss Stacy always showing up and just giving us her knowledge because, you know, her and I both deal a lot with women. I deal with obviously the other side of coaching. Miss Stacy deals with, the nutritional side, but both of them collide right in the
Yeah.
center. So I really hope that any women over the age of 40 have really gotten some helpful information out of this, and we'll be doing this again. Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
once a month, but whenever, we both have some time. Because I do think that in these later stages of life, we really need to hear the truth about what nutrition can do for our bodies. So
Yeah. I mean, to speak on that, I do my free nutrition webinar once a month now.
yes.
So,
Um,
my next webinar is September 16th at 6 p.m. online. And so if women were like, hey, I kind of curious about what I should be eating and how it impacts my hormones, like if I've kind of like triggered any curiosity in them, like if they
yeah.
follow me, my next one is on the 16th of September.
So I'm going to make sure that that link is in the show notes in the bio. And do you still do the free week of your
Yeah.
training? So we'll put that in there as well.
Okay.
Make sure that that gets out there in case any women really are curious about what nutrition can
Yeah.
help
Well,
with their hormones.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the nutrition class is the 16th and the free week. Grabbing a free week to my online program. Not only do they get a free week to my virtual classes, they get hundreds of recipes and meal plans. They get habit trackers, grocery list, and they actually get a copy of my webinar for nutrition and hormones for women. So we do our workouts like you see me and you're in them. We do it all from here with a set of dumbbells and some resistance bands. And people do it in their living room, people do it in their garage, basements, you name it. Some people have a full on gym and some people literally just have a set of dumbbells. So,
Right. Right.
yeah,
And I will
thank you.
say this before we end. Miss Stacy gives a lot of free information. Like she is not a gatekeeper when it comes to,
No.
the hormonal information and like how she can help women get through their, over 40 stages and through menopause. So definitely click one of the links, reach out to her. I know that you will come away knowing a whole lot more than you did when you logged on. So
That's what everybody says. They're like, your nuggets are like and they're like, you should video your classes and put it on Instagram. The content that you give in our classes, they're like, those nuggets are just golden. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm gonna start doing it,
I do think you should. I do think you
Yeah.
should because there not enough women, know this information or know where to go to get the information. So,
Well, thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
I love it. I love doing what I do. So,
yeah, I know you do. Well, thank you
mhm.
so much for joining us for another episode of Soul Hygiene. We'll have Miss Stacy back on hopefully in the next month or two, and we'll continue this conversation. Hope everyone has a
Awesome.
great night. See you
Thank
later.
you. Bye.
Bye.